Little gravel and mouse. This might all just be mouse poop. I don't know. Just kind of nasty. Welcome back into the shop. It's time for part 2 on Butter Jeep Repower. Check this out. I came out, I wasn't planning on filming anything. I just came out here to drain that oil out of the transmission so that I wouldn't spill it all over the ground again. And then I was like, I should do the engine too. I pulled the drain plug and like a bunch of coolant was in the bottom of the oil. So I had to put the plug back in. Look at that. That's coolant. I had to put the plug back in and grab my GoPro. Oh my gosh. Did I just buy another junk LS? Ugh. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with all my cars? Trucks, Jeeps. This is crap. Did this thing get parked? Did this thing get parked and like water got in it? Or does it have a blown head gasket? Do I need to be worried about this? What the heck? You can see we definitely have some milkshake in the old oil, the drain pan. Let me grab the light and get it a little closer. Yeah, that ain't good. That's not good. I bought another junk engine. Ugh. I'm gonna let that drain. I'll go ahead and end up pulling the oil pan off it. I'm gonna be changing it anyways. Not gonna give up yet, but I'm not very, I don't know what to think right now. It's kind of a bummer. Anywho, welcome back to the Dirthead Shed and engine swap land, because this is what I'm good at. Not really. I can't swap an engine to save my life. All right, let's start figuring out what the plan is. Junk. Okay, while I'm waiting for this to drain out or letting it drain, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the oil filter off. And I wanna cut this thing open and see if the filter element inside looks like it had a bunch of water in it as well. Let's scoot this over here. I wanna see if it looks like this had water in it as well. If it does, if it looks all milky there, then I know that it ran with coolant in the oil. If it doesn't, then I can assume water got into the engine while it was sitting and just sitting around in the last owner's shop, or Lord knows where this thing's been over the last couple of years. Looked like a weird little bloop came out of there. That might have been coolant. All right. I gotta come up with something to cut this open with so that we can see what's going on inside of it. Yay, engines. Set up a little table over here. Grab my saw and my filter. Let's go figure out what's going on here. Hey, that worked pretty good actually. This thing's all sucked in and weird. It definitely had water in it. This is frustrating. I think I just bought an engine. Yeah. I just bought an engine that's got a blown head gasket. Or cracked head. or something else. Dang it. You can see there how the pleats are all like squished around and it got wet and kind of sucked in on itself. If this was, yeah, you can also see the difference in the colors there. That's water or coolant in the oil. Junk. Absolute junk. Ugh. All right, day one on shop day number 2 of getting butter Jeep engine swap done. Not good. I'm gonna go in and have dinner. Think about what I've done. I should just do videos on how to waterproof your trailer deck with engine oil. That would be way easier. All right, after talking to Freiberger for a little bit and talking to my friend Josh Mazerol, I've got sort of a game plan. I'm gonna head into town and get 5 gallons of brake clean and a reusable pressure sprayer. And I think it's gonna be time to just start cleaning this engine up. It's already out of the rig and it's on the stand. And between this and the one that's in there, I should be able to make something work out of all this. We'll see. All right, let's go get an old Louis Vuitton and go spend some money. All right, we're cruising Louis Vuitton to the auto parts store. I ditched the roof rack and the rooftop tent, which is awesome. I can actually see out the back window now. I'm using my Onyx app, the off-road app, to do go and track option. And that's gonna give me like an accurate GPS speedometer. This thing, somehow, even though the gear ratio I've got and the size of tires I've got should be pretty accurate, but it's super far off. You can see like my speedometer says I'm going 26, but I'm actually going 34. So I need to be pretty on it as far as staying on the speed limit. I've had 2 tickets in the last year for speeding, so time to start using some of this technology to help me not be a dummy. Anywho, you're gonna see probably a bunch of Onyx stuff on my channel. It's a good app as far as being able to find off-road trails and stuff in your area, and obviously it's got a GPS speedometer on it, which I'm stoked on because a bunch of my vehicles really are not that dialed in to where the speedos are accurate. So anywho, it's a good app to have around, and there's actually going to be I think I've got a coupon code, so if you go in and you order the app and you use the Dirthead Dave as a coupon code, you should be able to get a little bit of a percentage off. So I appreciate you guys following along with all this stuff. Hopefully it doesn't scare you off if I end up working with companies, but gotta keep hustling, you know what I mean? All right, we're gonna head down to the auto parts store and pick up that brake clean and pressure sprayer thing so we can clean up this seemingly junk LS engine I just bought. O'Reilly for the win. Got my brake clean, my sprayer, and some brushes. We're good to go. Let's head back to the shop and start tearing an engine apart, see what we got. I'm pretty stoked on this. I've been wanting to buy one of these non-aerosol sprayers for a while. All right. I don't really have a game plan here other than now that I have 2 engines that I don't know the condition of, I feel like I should at least pull this one over here and start kind of cleaning it up and seeing what I'm working with. If this is a good engine that's just got a bunch of junk on it that I can clean up, or if this thing's really trash. All right, so this one's going to be referred to as the kitty litter motor. This was a $150 junkyard option that I actually just got in a trade. And I'm going to flip it over, and we're just going to kind of clean and see if enough of this kitty litter and gravel and mouse turds, if they'll all just kind of come off of it and end up with some clean looking heads and stuff. I'll probably pull the oil pan off of it, and then we'll mess with that as well and see what the condition is from underneath. So just basically trying to figure out what I own. I have piles of parts over here, and now I've got 2 engines, and I don't know if either one of them's good, so we might as well figure it out, right? All right, let's get busy. This engine actually doesn't look too bad other than what happened to it at the wrecking yard, and that's just like little gravel and mouse. This might all just be mouse poop. I don't know. Just kind of nasty. When I did originally get this and I cleaned the mouse nest out of here, I did notice there was like some random hardware and stuff down here in the cam area, so I don't know. We're just gonna flip it and clean it, see what happens. Just kind of take this nice and slow and easy and see what we end up with. Let's see how this is gonna work out. I just filled the reusable sprayer thing with some brake clean, and we'll pressurize it. See if this is a cool thing or if it's a waste of time. These gloves are garbage. I'm gonna have to step it up on those. Let's go ahead and see if I can rotate this thing around without it breaking the engine standoff. Sand and nastiness dropping out of everywhere. Let's just start cleaning. This was my plan all along for this motor, was to just kind of get it upside down and start cleaning the junk out of the heads, seeing where it ends up. I'll be stoked if it turns out that this kitty litter motor is the one to use. Thing's coming kind of clean. Not bad for doing it the wrong way. All right, half hour of cleaning this thing later, and I've got a new false sense of security. I think I'm gonna pull the oil pan off this, and we'll see what this thing looks like from inside. I think this might be the engine that goes in the rig. We're gonna go ahead and pull the oil pan off. We'll clean out some more stuff and then throw some oil at some parts and rotate this thing around and see if it seems crunchy or good. All right, let's see what we're working with here. What do we got? What do we got? All right, here we go. There we go. All right. There's the oil pan off. Get a quick idea of what's inside of this puppy. Bunch of sludge in the bottom. Definitely not a brand new engine by any means. Pickup. I don't know what we're looking for there, but we'll pull this valley pan thing off. windage tray, whatever you want to call it. And we'll pull the pickup tube off and see what we're working with. I know the new oil pan that I got is going to have a pickup tube, so we can go ahead and take that off and not sweat it. I'm just trying to get this thing running again. This doesn't have to be the end-all be-all engine for this rig. I just need to get the engine swap done, get the thing to fire up, have the big ticket items in place, and then the world is my oyster as far as upgrades and building another engine or the perfect engine or whatever. All right, let's give this thing a look and see what we got. Yuck. All right, let's get a flashlight going here and you guys can be the first to see what's going on in this engine. All right, right away. Cylinder number whatever that one is. I can see cross-hatching on the cylinder and nothing looks weird whatsoever. Over here, I can see crosshatch. Nothing looks weird. Down in there, you can see the camshaft. There's some junk floating around in there, but I don't know that we have any problems at the moment. This is all right. Let's go ahead and kind of keep flushing this thing out. All right, I think it's time to trade out my brake clean for some WD-40, and we will kind of hose this thing all down and put a ratchet on the crankshaft and turn this thing over. See what happens. Is it going to be crunchy? Is it going to be good? Am I ruining it? Is it already ruined? Nobody knows. Somebody knows, but I kind of feel like we're going to be all right. All right. Let's go ahead and throw some WD in this thing. That way we'll get a little bit of cleaning action out of it and we'll get a little bit of lubrication, hopefully. I'm not really sweating it too much as far as like getting WD-40 on spots like on the outside of the engine. I don't really plan on painting this engine. It's going to end up kind of just going in as it is and we'll just celebrate its junkiness. There we go. I'm going to just kind of do the same thing I was doing with the brake clean. Sit in there and soak. Do its thing. We all know WD-40's magic. What the heck? Put a little bit everywhere. Get some in the cylinders. I honestly think that this is going to do more good than the brake clean did. I was a little unimpressed with how well that stuff was cleaning. Let's get some WD in all these cylinders. That one's up at the top right now. Make sure the cam is kind of got some oil on it. This is awesome. There's something super satisfying about using WD-40 in this capacity. The nastiness is just pouring out of it. This is great. Let's get another look at the pistons, bottoms of the pistons, cylinder walls. Yeah, the cylinder walls are fine. I don't know if you can hardly see that at all, but as long as this cam doesn't have a bunch of junk on it, I think this thing's gonna survive. And even if the cam does have a bunch of junk, I feel a little better that at least it's a roller cam and maybe it can process some impurities a little better. Okay. Ah, come on. This thing's heavy. Come on back around. I just got off the phone with Freiberger, telling him what I was up to, and he said, crank it over or run it over with the ratchet. Make sure it doesn't have a bent rod or something. Put it together, call it good enough. So, I'm gonna take that advice. I've just got a 15/16 on a socket. We're gonna find out if this thing cranks around. It sure does. Look at that. This thing's an engine. It's not damaged to where it's got like a bent rod or seized up. So that's good. I think it's time to just kind of keep cleaning a little bit and then start assembling it. I'm stoked. Is it good? I don't know. It's not junk yet though. Yes. I know I've got a Holley Offroad oil pan in here. I'm excited to see what that thing entails. Is this it? Yep, that's it. All right, let's go check this thing out. Oh, this is cool. Heck yeah, I can dig this. Check this out. Holley Offroad oil pan. It looks like this thing has some sort of windage tray, a new pickup, which is good, hardware, and it's a little bit shorter than stock as well. Let's go start fitting this thing up to the engine. Just stay put. This thing looks like a nice piece. That'll end up going like that. Oil pan looks like it's right for the engine, so let's see what the instructions say to do. First, read these instructions. I just got back from another trip to the old O'Reilly. I had to do it, had to spend the money and get a full-blown gasket kit. Let's get the oil pan gasket out of there and start getting the whoa, almost stabbed myself in the foot. This is by far the most expensive gasket kit that I've ever had to buy, but I have a feeling it's money well spent. I'm gonna need a bunch of stuff out of here. Alright, that looks like my oil pan gasket. Dang, this stuff is nice. Super nice. Cool, I don't feel too bad about that. That'll go there. Alright, let's get into the instructions, get that windage tray cut down a little bit, and start fitting all this stuff together. There's a little bit of cutting I have to do on the windage tray to make room for the different pickup tube that this thing uses, so we're going to chop that up real quick with the old cutoff wheel. Trying to do this far enough away from the engine to where we don't get sparks and stuff over there. That was loud. Alright, I think that's all the sharp edges off and loose stuff. Now we can just kind of go clean this thing up with brake clean again and bolt it into the rig, into the engine. Okay, windage tray clearance for the final time. How's it look? We're good. I was hitting right here on this little corner, and now we're not. Cool. Let's tighten all this down. Hot rodding, huh? This is what it's all about. Pretty fun. All right, that is tight enough. Let's get a wrench on that and we'll call that done. We're getting close now. Next up is gonna be the baffle for the pan. This is a standard one that comes with the pan, but if you get the off-road edition, it comes with this gated baffle for it. And basically, this is just designed to keep oil around the pickup tube, even when your truck's like at pretty wild angles. So that'll drop right in place, and then it comes with hardware. Put a little dab of Loctite on it and tighten these down to like 18 foot-pounds, it said. There we go. 18 foot-pounds. Kind of a cool shot of the baffles in the pan. Basically, they're just a hinged door, and it helps keep oil in that sump. The next step's going to be throwing a little RTV in these corners, and then we'll put the oil pan on and snug the thing all up. See this thing go together. Okay, there's no hole there, that's fine. All right, let's tighten this thing up. I feel like now that I'm into this, I probably should have been cleaning all this hardware up real nice. But earlier today, I didn't even know that we were using this engine. So I can't trip too much. Can't trip out too much. Just get it together, Dave. I have the same problem we all do, I think, is think too much about stuff before acting on it and end up sort of overcomplicating some of these projects when it could just be as simple as this. Just clean it as good as you can and put it together, and it'll tell you the rest. All right, where's my 10 mil? It's gotta be floating around here somewhere. I'm really glad I bought this gasket set. It was expensive, but I'm gonna need it for the valley pan and intake and valve covers and all that stuff. This engine was missing a bunch of parts. A bunch of stuff got robbed off it before it came out of the wrecking yard. That should be good. Make sure we got the right oil filter. Seems good. I may, when we do the oil change, or when we get this in the car, I may pull that back off and fill it with oil, just so that there's a little bit there on startup. Let's see what this skid plate thing looks like. Wow, this thing seems complicated. So this is the oil pan skid plate that they are now making for the off-road world. And it appears, wow, it even has like a little cover that goes around the oil filter. This thing is cool, but I am not going to install it right now. I feel like that's something that might just get in the way when we're trying to get this installed. So we'll come back to that at a later date. All right, right now I just want to like reflect on what has happened today. We've got an engine, we're making decisions, we're putting this engine in the Jeep. Good, bad, or indifferent, this is what we're gonna try out. $150 junkyard engine. It's gonna have some fancy stuff bolted onto it, like that oil pan with the baffles, and we're gonna end up with headers on it and stuff like that. But man, if we can make this Jeep run with a $150 junkyard engine, I'm gonna be stoked. Back in the shop, I cleaned up that mess. I got the engine off the cardboard and just, man, I had made such a dang mess out here. It was ridiculous. So I spent a bunch of time yesterday, last night, got that all cleaned up. I got the engine rotated back over to where it's right side up. Things are looking pretty clean considering how bad this was. I'll probably still clean up in there a little bit. And before I start grinding and cutting and welding, I'll throw the old tarp back on it so we don't get more junk in it. Coming over here, this is pretty cool. Last night I stayed in the shop pretty late and got these exhaust manifolds pulled off of the motor that's in here. Now we have the clearance on the firewall up there to where we should be able to move this whole drivetrain back 3 inches, get it to where it's in the transmission mounts, and let that help us locate where we're gonna weld the motor mounts at. So now that those manifolds are out of the way, I can kind of start shimmying this engine back, and then we should be able to weld the motor mounts in. Let's get busy. This is kind of fun. I'm not an engine guy, but we're making it happen. All right, I'm ready to start making something happen here. I've got a good transmission jack under the oil pan over here, and I have a ratchet strap under the transmission. I have another ratchet strap that is going to the back of the transfer case mount and back to the body here. So the plan is to take this transmission cross member out all the way and then start ratchet strapping the engine back 3 inches. I will have to unclamp the motor mounts up there that I have the vice grip C-clamps on. So I'll undo those since we got this in place. And then we should be able to yank this whole thing back the 3 inches right here that this thing needs to come. And then hopefully everything's happy and we can weld the motor mounts in. Let's try it. Let's see if I can undo these clamps. Okay. Okay. All right, let's yank this engine and transmission backwards and see what happens. It's pretty wild. It's doing it though. This is rad. It's totally working. Or I'll just cram it back together. Oh, hammer. So this transmission cross member is really the thing that is like the determining factor on everything we're doing right now. This is determining where the motor mounts are going to be welded, where the engine's going to sit. And I know I said it before, but the reason for all this is because I don't want to have new drive shafts made. And I like where all my shifters go through the floor and the sheet metal work that I did on that. So we're just sort of keeping that in place. And then we'll modify anything up near the engine that has to be modified. All right, here's the deal. I've got the engine in location. I've got it left and right where I want it and up and down where I want it. And the brackets that I've got actually have a bit of space behind them on both sides. So I'm gonna end up having to make like a shim basically that will duplicate this shape here. We'll shim that behind there. That'll get us the right gap so that I can weld this thing clean. And then we'll just burn these things in and call it good. Pretty cool how these motor mounts are working out. That was a whole lot less work than making them 100% by myself. This is another thing worth noting. Remember I had those buttons that were on the back side of here that I cut? Well, those were designed to go into that hole. So you can see like this motor mount is about 2 inches or 2¼ inches, probably farther back than it was designed. But it's all working out. I've got clearance all around on the firewall and we should be good to go. And most importantly, we're able to reuse this setup that I got here. So win-win. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some cardboard and scissors. We'll make some spacer plates to go behind there and then start welding these puppies up. I actually have a fresh little chunk of plate. I need to get back in the groove on some fab work. It seems like it's been too long. Got my gloves and glasses and earplugs. I'm ready to grind or cut or whatever. Let's start over here. Should be able just to kind of sand the edges on this, and then they're going to get welded all the way around. All right, let's go see if we got the spacing all correct. All right, so the goal is to fit this up in here and kind of get it to where it's happy. And then we'll take those C-clamps and kind of squish all that stuff together. That should give us a good starting point for tacking one side. Feel like my gaps are pretty good. The bushing's not doing anything weird. I'm gonna grab my welding helmet and put a couple tacks on there. All right. Frame to the spacer and then the spacer to the mount. This section right here along the top edge is one of the most important welds. I'm just going to go ahead and get after it. The angles on the brackets are just a little bit off because of how far back I had to set this motor. So I was filling a little bit of a gap there. But man, it looks good. It looks clean. We're going up the ladder. I've got the engine set in here and a digital angle finder. Half degree down, which means this side can go down just a little bit. Let's double check the grill. This is 0.2 of a degree up. Well, let's just zero this out here. I need to bring that side of the engine down until we're zeroed out. Let's go underneath. Let's go see where our mark is. All right, I can come down a little bit more. All right, going back up the ladder We went past it. We went past it, so I gotta come back up a little bit. I can kind of see the angle finder from here. I'm at 0, 1.1. There we go. That thing's dialed in. I'm gonna jam the spacer in here and we're gonna tack some parts in. See if I can bust this little section out. I've already got the spacer welded to the frame. Now we're gonna weld the motor mount to the spacer. And there we go. Getting it. My neck is cramping up. Oh, it hurts so bad. All right. Got it. Motor mounts are in. Let's see how this does. All right. The motor's in there. It's supported by the chassis again. And it's got a V8 in it. Heck yeah. Not gonna have to change that. We got clearance all up in there. The exhaust on this side, whew, the exhaust is gonna be challenging getting it in over here. But we'll figure that out. I can do that. So cool. So cool. I should have plenty of up travel in this area. I may end up having to notch a little bit out of here for the front, for the pinion and drive shaft. Might have to throw a little notch in that. And then this side, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but if it is, I may have to just put a little bend down in this upper link. But man, we have clearance for days on like the pulley to the front axle. We have all kinds of room for a real fan on this thing and a big radiator. I mean, this is rad. Pretty cool. Butter Jeep's got a V8 in it. That's pretty awesome. I think the next round is gonna be pulling this thing out, putting the real one in, and starting to figure out all the accessories, the fuel injection, like all the stuff that makes a V8 and a Jeep run. So I think that's it for this Dirthead Shed. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with Butter Jeep here pretty soon. Let's see, let me grab a pry bar. I'm not done yet. Let's see if we can check and see what we really have for clearance and if we have any issues. Hang on just a second, I'm gonna pop these springs out. There we go. There we go, pop that out. And go grab the other one. There we go. All right, the front springs are both out. Let's grab the transmission jack and we'll lift the front of this, we'll lift this axle up to full compression and see if we have contact issues on the motor or motor mounts. All right, let's jack this up. That's not quite there yet. This thing has a lot of up travel. Over here, we definitely have link to motor mount clearance issues. We've still got 1.5 inches in the shock here, and we're touching already. That can be remedied fairly easily. Not too sweating that. This one, I don't think we're gonna have any issues at all. We've got clearance for days. We've got a little bit of a clearance issue on the link to the motor mount, but I'm not sweating that too bad. This is pretty rad. Butter Jeep's got a V8 in it. Motor mounts are welded in. That's where it's gonna live. We'll be back next week and pull this engine out, get the right one in place, and start figuring out all the injection, radiator, fans, electrical, all that good stuff. Super cool. Thanks for watching the Dirthead Shed. We'll see you next time.